Hello, I'm Stephen Cole, and you're at a slightly different listening post this week as Richard Gisbert takes a summer break. Coming up, how the media watched the fate of one man unfold, the release of Alan Johnston and what it means for reporting from Gaza. 114 days of captivity. We look at the other journalists killed or arrested in that time around the world. From South Korea, the citizen reporters who've changed the world media landscape for good. And reality TV Chinese style. Take this one away. The show that's turned a drama into a crisis. But first, freed after 114 days in captivity, the release of BBC Gaza correspondent Alan Johnston opened a floodgate of comment and opinion right around the world. The British government praised the campaigners who had kept his kidnapping at the forefront of the news, as did Johnston himself, who'd watched on his captor's television his fellow journalists on the streets of Gaza protesting about his kidnapping. But away from the understandable relief of Johnston's family, friends and employers, questions are being asked not just about the future of journalism in Gaza, but whether or not the reporting of Johnston's release, particularly by the BBC, has handed Hamas a public relations victory. And that's our starting point today, the repercussions for the media of the kidnap and freeing of Alan Johnston. After 114 days in captivity, Alan Johnston had a busy week.
I'm okay.
The day of his release, Johnston broke bread with Hamas.
Hamas is a controversial organisation with a lot of problems and so on in terms of relations with the outside world, but I'm pretty sure that if Hamas hadn't come in and stuck the heat on it in a big way, I would still be in that room.
And the BBC's World Affairs correspondent Paul Reynolds wrote on the BBC's own website, there is no doubt that Hamas has scored a major propaganda victory. The message was clear. Hamas is in charge, is a responsible organisation. So, did the media play into the hands of a major public relations coup by Hamas?
From the very first moments of news that Alan Johnston would be released, Hamas made sure to exploit that to the maximum that they could. And many point out that they were probably right in doing so. Hamas made sure to point out that it was the only party able to secure the release of Alan Johnston after almost 4 months.
Before accusations of bias could fly, the very next day, the BBC had Johnston in the West Bank city of Ramallah thanking Mahmoud Abbas, the head of Fatah.
Inevitably, Alan is grateful to all of those, as are the BBC to all of those within the region who played their part in securing his release from Hamas, yes, but also from the Palestinian Authority, from the President's office. It's a complex and murky situation in Gaza, and we are grateful to all of those who played their part in securing Alan's release.
It is a relief, the sense that this strange, dark period is coming to an end, and it'll be very good to be back in there with you lads on the other side of the microphone quite soon, I think. And I know that all of us as a family too, just so much looking forward to getting back to the quiet normality that we knew in this lovely place for so long, you know. Thanks very much.
I think the Palestinian people want and need the media there. And I think the kidnappers of Alan Johnston could see very well that this was simply not going down well in the occupied territories. And I think the silver lining in this is that any potential kidnappers now would think very long and hard before doing anything like that again, because the people simply wouldn't tolerate it.
After 4 months of reporting Johnston's plight, the BBC is now returning to its day job of reporting the everyday conflict in Gaza. So just how to do that is the dilemma they face.
2 weeks before Alan was abducted, we appointed Alan's successor as our correspondent in the Palestinian territories. And for the past 15 weeks, he's been based in Ramallah. He works with our team in Ramallah and with our team in Gaza. And currently, our operation in the Palestinian territories is centered on Ramallah. It may well be that we do go back into Gaza at some point. It may be that we go in for the odd day. It may be we go in for the odd week or odd month. We've yet to make the decision about the long-term solution and where we base our correspondence. But the BBC remains committed to telling that story.
Arab Media Watch in London follows closely the work of journalists in the region.
Western journalists now are able to go in there. The security there is not as much of a problem. So there are more and more reports coming out of Gaza, but these are by journalists who are not based in Gaza. So it's an improvement from before, but it's still not the ideal situation. You need to have journalists who are based there to really know the environment.
Noor Ode is based in Gaza for Al Jazeera English. As a Palestinian working for an international news organisation, she has a unique insight into the story of reporting Gaza and its perils.
Well, the situation after Alan's release here in Gaza has probably changed for the better as far as international journalists are concerned. It's probably a lot easier for them to get into Gaza and to feel that since Hamas is in control, it's the only party in control, it will feel more obliged to ensure their protection. As far as Palestinian journalists are concerned, however, the situation hasn't changed. The situation for Palestinian journalists based in Gaza has remained the same, probably even got a bit more complicated.
But while the international news media take time out from Gaza, the horrors of the conflict continue, leaving Noor and her fellow reporters in the firing line.
The dangers of telling the story in Gaza reach a new level. Imad Ghanem, a cameraman for Hamas's satellite television, is seriously injured while covering the Israeli incursion in Al-Buwayj refugee camp in central Gaza. The cameraman was targeted by Israeli fire as he filmed the advancing tanks. After falling to the ground, he was shot several times before fellow journalists were able to evacuate him. There is a sense, however, among Palestinian journalists that while a lot of media attention is given to international journalists when they are kidnapped or they are confronted with any kind of threat reporting from Gaza or anywhere else in the world, the plight of local journalists who may be facing threats, who may be beaten, or who may face a lot of other dangers while they're doing their job is less reported, and it does not get the same attention that other cases do. And in that sense, there is that bittersweet feeling about Alan's release, and a lot of articles by fellow journalists in the days immediately following Alan's release reflected that bittersweet feeling.
Our Global Village voices now on how they see the story.
I think the message from Alan Johnston's abduction is that news organisations need to work very, very hard to keep the story of their journalist alive. And I think what the BBC did really effectively was to look at Alan Johnston's abduction as a news story and treat it as something that needed to be promoted and needed to be really kept in the public eye. And they did that really, really well. And I think it's probably a model for other news organisations who find themselves in the unfortunate situation of having a journalist taken captive.
Hamas, the new force in the Gaza Strip, has used Alan's story to send a clear message that they do not tolerate the cases of kidnapping. They assert that they are a Palestinian Islamic moderate organizations, different from other radical organizations in the Middle East. They are against the cases of kidnapping, and they welcome any foreigner to come and cover from the Gaza Strip.
If you have an opinion on global media, you can become one of our Global Village voices. Just email us at listeningpost@aljazeera.net. Make your point on the media and get it heard around the globe. Snack time for media junkies now with Listening Post News Bites. Young Iraqi internet users are the latest victims of violence in Baghdad after a series of abductions and murders of people leaving internet cafes. According to the Iraqi Aid Association, spies are being posted in the capital's cafes to target people using chat rooms and erotic websites. After Saddam Hussein, bans on sites like Yahoo, MSN and Skype were lifted. Until now, the internet has been one of the few places young Iraqis can find entertainment and socialise in safety. A new EU ruling could put Germany's paparazzi out of a job. Germany's federal court is enforcing a ban on photographing celebrities outside of public events without their permission, unless they are figures of major historical importance. Well, the latest celebrity to benefit from the ban was the German goalkeeper Oliver Kahn. He was papped on holiday with his girlfriend but the court ruled that the photos could not be published. The decision comes as a blow to Germany's celebrity-obsessed media, which sells around 20 million gossip magazines a week. Iran's state broadcaster has launched a 24-hour English language channel called Press TV. The channel, which has 26 international correspondents, aims to offer viewers a different perspective on the news. At the launch ceremony, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad announced that Press TV would stand by the oppressed and reveal what goes on behind the scenes of the propaganda networks of mankind's enemies. A Chinese director has caused uproar after refusing to cast the winners of a TV talent show in a new television drama. Hu Mei told bosses at Beijing TV, "You can choose who you like, but I'll direct who I want." 3 unknowns were selected from more than 200,000 hopefuls to play the lead roles in The Dream of the Red Chamber, billed as China's most expensive television drama ever. Well, the audition process took over a year, and the winners were chosen by a panel of judges and audience votes via text messages. Coming up after the break, oh my goodness, oh my news! The citizen-based news agency which is turning old media on its head.